private schools starting to pop up now recently. Like when I was growing up, I was always playing hockey and stuff, and I noticed there's a whole bunch of like hockey academies popping up right in my hometown. There's one that started up where I'm working, actually, right now in the West End. There's another one, like an elementary school academy that they're starting up, and basically it's all for hockey players, right? Like they come in, they go to the gym for an hour, they go to school, they go on the ice for an hour, you know, they go back to class for a little bit. So,
like, what type of school do they actually do?
What type of school?
What type of schooling? Like, what are they learning when they're in school?
Same, I think it's the same curriculum.
Yeah, they follow the same curriculum, and all the teachers, because I did a placement in my grad studies before in a hockey academy, and but specifically working with the athletes on their sport nutrition and stuff. But all the teachers were registered teachers in Ontario, and they follow exactly the same curriculum. So even though it's a private school in the sense that they were paying international fees sometimes, they were still following the exact same curriculum as public schools. So I guess
and now we have that in effect. We have the sports education programs that are part of public schools. It's a stream that you can do. You spend half a day in school, or you spend half, and then the other half you do your sport.
We have that to be like I know, like living the lifestyle. There's that in pursuit of scholarships.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then especially the hockey academy.
And professional.
Yeah. There's actually one in Ottawa. It's called Louisville.
Yeah.
And they do that. They are specifically a sports high school. So all the elite athletes in Ottawa go to that school now.
But they don't pay anything.
They don't pay anything actually. So it's like Hanford for athletes.
So the publicly funded school.
Yeah, but with kind of a private school mentality.
So would that be it?
So they just have
Charters?
more opportunities.
Well, I don't know. My understanding.
Would that be around the charter school?
And my understanding of charter school is just that it's like the public curriculum, so the curriculum is followed by the province or whatever state, but it's almost like it's pay to get in, like like a private school almost. But I don't know. Like I'm not too sure what the charter school actually is.
I know somebody who, and I think this is my sense of what a charter school is, and it was like an art school. It was called Waldorf Academy, and it was for kids who seemed to learn in different ways where they kind of represented their educational learning through art in different forms. So they were doing like things like fencing and all these different alternative forms of education, but I guess kind of on the premise that they're still learning at the same rate.
So just something sorry.
Is it like the Ottawa Technical High School? Like I see that on, I think it's Metcalf, maybe Slater?
Yeah.
Okay, I don't, is that like a private school that is geared to people whose children are more technologically inclined, or I don't.
Well,
or is it a public school?
Ottawa
Like,
Tech used to be a public school.
Yeah.
Like I know a lot of people in their 50s that went to Ottawa Tech as a high school.
Yeah, I think so.
But now I think it's utilized
As an alternative.
As an alternative. So people are struggling. Also, mature students go there if they want to finish off a high school degree and stuff like that.
Okay, so I thought it was a specialized like school. Yeah.
Right, like for someone,
That's
title, right?
The idea of specialization. So I know post-secondary, a big issue is, or concern is specialization, and the fact that a lot of students are leaving their degree programs with only having a limited information, or a lot of information, but on very little. So that's interesting. It'd be interesting to see if that specialization was occurring, and if students weren't getting a more multifaceted kind of approach to learning, where it's aesthetic and it's auditory and different things like that. Just one form.
That's what plays into the idea what Kelly was talking about, where like these schools, I guess members of society feel that public schools aren't kind of looking at those facts, and so they feel like they can kind of control it themselves and create their own sort of curriculum to address those type of issues.
I really like that about Montessori. From what my understanding of Montessori is that they look at each individual child and look at how they learn, and they foster that learning and help them accelerate it at their own rate. Like that really makes sense to me as someone who's learning and trying to educate them. Like if you look at the way that public schools are created, it's challenging based on everything that we've heard from all these teachers, right? Like, how do you cater to every single learning need and making sure that they're being successful within that grade? Like, I think it's going to be a challenge for sure, and I kind of see why the Montessori program was initiated.
But then the issue arises there, right? So you're having a more open education for your children, but you're paying for that. So only the affluent members or the middle class to affluent are able to educate their children that way. The rest are in the public school system. So is the public school system not as good?
Well, that's the question. Like, if let's say we were all affluent and had money, and we all had kids, what would be our decision based on? Why would you send your kid to a public school as opposed to a private school? And it's obviously a difference of opinion. Like, I think the argument is, like, I don't think private schools are better necessarily than public schools. I guess the society just kind of views them as being all-encompassing, and maybe not. People fall through the cracks in the public system all the time, and the private system seems to always take everybody regardless of what ability they have.
Like, I know that I went to private school, but I had the option of going to public school and doing the international baccalaureate. But at the end of the day, I wanted to go to a Catholic all-girls school just to focus on learning, and I know that for me it was the right choice, because I don't think I would have enjoyed school as much if all the other drama of being, well, not, but just being in a co-ed school.
It's too bad we couldn't merge the two, like take some of the concepts of Montessori learning and education and incorporate that into the publicly funded schools, so that, and again, it's the whole thing about education for all, and no kid is left behind, like all those, but in reality, kids are left behind, right, in our public schools.
There's still options,
There's still
right?
options.
There's still international baccalaureate for those strong students.
Yes.
And there are different programs. It's not that they're getting a worse education, and
No.
like, I don't know how it works in Ontario, but I know in Quebec, teachers don't want to go teach in private schools because they need to put in all this extra time. So good teachers are staying in the public system.
Oh,
That's true.
Yeah, you don't get paid as much in the private as well.
We do have an international baccalaureate in Ottawa. So there is that option for the publicly funded, very advanced. And then even, what's the Lisgar High School? Does anybody know Lisgar?
Yeah.
Yeah, Lisgar High School is a very advanced publicly funded school. So a lot of like the very, I guess, prominent publicly funded teachers are teaching there. And like they're really advanced, especially I think in the sciences and maths. And so a lot of those kids come out of there, and a lot of them are like the top of their class, and they get like Governor General scholarships and stuff like that. So it's kind of, again, I guess within the public world, we still do have those options, right?
And like, I know it's different for us, but we go through CJET, and in CJET it's you against your class, and that's how you're graded. So like, I went to, you get an R score based on that. And I went to private CJET again. But a lot of people choose to go to public because they will get a higher R score because their grades will be higher than the average of the class. So it's a motivation for them to stay in the public system.
That's something you don't really see in Ontario at all.
No.
Like there's no real motivation, like reason why you want to be in the public system or stay in the public system other than socially, just like being with your classmates and friends, and that you all follow the same track kind of thing.
That's true. Yeah, very true. Does anybody have any views on the government's role in like publicly funded versus privately funded schools, and do we feel like they should have a role in both, or maybe they don't have a right to be in private?
I think to a certain extent they need to be present in private just to make sure that everyone's kind of learning at least something similar.
Yeah.
But then you have to think about what about the people who educate their children through homeschooling?
As long as,
and how does that work?
like, as long as the curriculum is presented to them, and it makes it easier just to know what is being learned. You can still homeschool and follow the curriculum.
Absolutely.